It's not about how much you know, it's about how much you care. And so show customers how much you care, right? You may not be the smartest person on a call or a scoping call or whatever the case may be, and that's okay. But
Yep.
show your customers how much you care. Find the right people, get them the information that they need, and make them feel taken care of.
Welcome to Always On CX, the show for contact center and IT leaders. Between helping support your contact center reps, your customers, and the tech that makes the contact center function, you're relied upon quite a lot. You can't afford for your customer experience, employee experience, or stability of the contact center to falter. If you're ready to find the next strategy to keep your customer and employee experience always on, let's get into this episode. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Always On CX. Today we have Jeff Ward on the show. Jeff is a client director here at AudioCodes. He's joining us to chat about the importance of relationships, how to partner with customers, and how agents can quickly build relationships to improve customer experience. So let's jump into the conversation. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Hey man, thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I know it's been a long time coming, so I'm glad we finally got up to do this. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're the perfect person for this topic. You're a good friend. I know relationships are really important to you. So I think today should be a fun one, a fun conversation. But let's jump into it. And wanted to start a little bit with your background and how that plays into your relationship building. So where does that desire for relationship building come from?
Yeah, so I think all of us, like, if we remember like some of the happiest times in our lives, it includes being with or around other people, right? And so, that's certainly the truth for me. I'm the happiest when I'm around other people. I feed off people's energy, right? And so I enjoy being someone that people can count on and just that reliable person. But I think honestly, where does it derive from? I think it probably derives from growing up. My family, they always had people in our home. A lot of those people are still their closest friends today. And so I think the cool thing about relationships is that there's always something to build on, to make stronger, right? And so, and there, I don't know, Josh, to be honest with you, there's just something about relationships that makes me tick. That's probably why I'm in sales, and so it's kind of the same with your personal life, right? Some of your closest friends are going to reach out to you when they need help, right? And so that carries over into the business side of things. If you have a good relationship with your client, they trust you, they're going to reach out to you because they know they can count on you. And so I think that's why they're most important to me.
Yeah, I love this. So good. So you mentioned a little bit on, we have our personal relationships, we have our business relationships, but they really can ebb and flow into a great relationship with a customer, with a colleague as well from a business setting. So I wanted to jump into that portion of things a little bit more. And can you speak to how a great relationship has led to serving a customer need really well?
Yeah, I can do that. I think so. A little context about my role at AudioCodes is I manage 14 large enterprise customers on the East Coast, and that's across a few different verticals. And so the first one that kind of comes to mind is a EDU account that I manage in Florida. And so I've been supporting this client this is going on my third year. And so the one thing that stuck out to me when I first met them, it was over like a lunch meeting, was they told me that to have like one of their core principles was, hey, like I want to be able to trust you and I want you to be reliable. And that stuck with me. And I have harnessed that to this day to make sure our team makes sure that we hold on to those core principles because it means a lot to them, right? Obviously you want that with all your clients, but that really means a lot to them. And maybe that derives from something that happened in the past with them, with another partnership or whatever the case may be, right?
Yeah.
But what that's led to, as far as like customer needs, is that's led to understanding their pain points, right? Us getting a little bit deeper into their account and how we can help and add value. And so a specific one that I can think of was on the contact center side of things, right? Their current contact center solution at the time, a couple of years ago, they were having a lot of like just constant outages. They were having a lack of support. It was hard to get in touch with anybody there. And so they were really having some frustration. And so because of the trust that we had built with them, they allowed us to to come in there, start a POC, and then which end up leading into that production environment with our contact center solution, Voca. And so that's something that, just understanding that those initial core principles led to, serving a customer need in that way. So,
Yeah, definitely. So I wrote a couple things down here of really it starts with understanding the need. And
yeah,
especially from a customer experience side of things, that need can be, sometimes it can be told to you, whether, you're on a contact center platform and the CRM is telling you what their need is based off of what they've typed into a form. But sometimes it takes some digging too. Like you said, it
right.
takes asking the right questions, digging to understand. And sometimes people are pretty upfront of like, hey, I need your trust and reliability. And then also knowing the background, like you said too. And do you have some questions that maybe come to mind for digging into the background or trying to find pain points really quickly? Say if you're an agent on the phone and you needed to dig in and get the background really quickly, what's a question that might come to mind for that?
I think the biggest piece, piece of advice or biggest thing that I can think of would be to be quick to listen and slow to speak. It's about understanding like the customer sentiment, where they're coming from. It's if you're sensing they're happy, right? Show excitement. If you're sensing frustration or discouragement or whatever, be ready to encourage them and show urgency, right? Connect with them on a personal level if the opportunity presents itself, right?
Yeah.
But really just ensuring that they're comfortable, they trust you, and that they know that you're going to be able to handle their needs accordingly.
Yeah. I love that. Quick to listen, slow to speak, understand the urgency, be an active listener, connect on a personal level. Yeah. Some good notes here.
You're not going to always be able to do that with all of your customers, right? But just being able to sense that, trying to understand if that opportunity presents itself, if you can connect that way, it really adds value,
Yeah.
and grows that relationship.
Definitely. So I wanted to switch gears a little bit here and dive a little bit deeper into how employee experience leads into great customer experience. So what are your thoughts on how those two coincide?
Yeah. So I think if an employee has trust, I think if they have support from their company, like they're going to be able to provide an overall like better experience for the customer, right? You know, i.e., the employee feels trusted in his role, they have freedom, they have a good support group. That's so important. They know who they can reach out to if they don't know the answer to their, the customer's question or any kind of difficult questions. They have a good support group, right? If they're happy, that's going to bleed into the overall customer experience.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have, maybe from being in a like a director level role, do you have, and we're just talking about relationships here, do you have some go-to questions or way of connecting with other employees that you work with to help build that trust and that rapport with each other?
Yeah, I think that a way to build trust internally and just is really comes from just being able to be reliable, showing that you can handle any kind of responsibility given to you, whether it's even the smallest thing. If you can be handled with small responsibilities, like you're going to be handled with larger responsibilities, right? And so like showing your company that you're reliable is going to build a good rapport internally. It's also going to allow you to understand, build on relationships, people that that you can go to if you don't know the answer, or you don't have or you need any kind of difficult question answered. You know that you can go to them. Maybe they have more history inside the company. You know that you can count on for them from certain things. So
Yeah, for sure. All right. So you talked a little bit about how great employee experience can transition into a great customer experience. That's something that we've talked about a good bit on this show of when an employee feels trusted, they have the backing of their team and of their managers. They feel like they have the right data in front of them when they're trying to solve a customer issue while on a call or through email or through chat, whatever it may be. That can often then flow into a better customer experience for the customer when they're calling in. Sometimes customer, by the time they're calling in, they're pretty frustrated, but when they're in contact with an employee who feels they're in a really good place, they know how to solve the problem really quickly. It's kind of like this a circle of life when it comes to customer experience. An employee is happy, they're going to solve the problem and be, really engaged with the customer. The customer comes back around and they're in a better place, and they're going to engage a little bit less frustrated and a little bit more empathy for the agent when they hop on the phone. So kind of that circle of life there. But one of the things I wanted to talk about too was more of a scenario from your perspective. So say you're a contact center manager or you're overseeing customer experience. What's one piece of advice that you would give to your team related to customer interactions?
Okay. So I think I can think of two things here. And one piece of advice that was given to me, it was given to me about 10 years ago from a previous boss. I had a large client base, and his advice to me was, you don't know what you don't know, right? You don't know what you don't know. You don't know what people are going through behind the scenes. Understand your customer, understand where your customer is, understand where they're coming from, connect with them on an emotional level while trying to navigate their needs. And so that was huge for me. The second piece of advice was, that I would give if I was in that scenario would be something my father always told me. It's not about how much you know, it's about how much you care. And so show customers how much you care, right? You may not be the smartest person on a call or a scoping call or whatever the case may be, and that's okay. But show your customers how much you care. Find the right people, get them the information that they need, and make them feel taken care of.
Oh man, these are good. All right. So one is, you don't know what you don't know. So come in with that compassion and empathy during a conversation. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes, and show people how much you care. Number two, those are two very, that will serve you outside of customer experience. That will serve you throughout the rest of your life too. Jeff here dropping some knowledge for us. Awesome. This is a question that I've wanted to ask you because I feel like you would have a really good answer for it. And that is, how do you rebuild trust when something goes wrong in a customer relationship?
Yeah. So I've had this happen many times. And so obviously you learn from failure. And I think the best piece of advice I could give is just to be honest, admit your mistakes, right? If you come up front with if something, even if it's an accident, don't keep prolonging, what could be solved over just a quick conversation with admitting that you failed, right? I think the same thing goes for I know I've done this with one recent account. It was a numbers error and I messed up. And so it led to actually a really fruitful thing, which now we have an open book, open trust, very transparent with any kind of quote that goes out. They're very transparent with budgeting their numbers, what they're given per year, what they can spend with us. And so we have this kind of open book relationship, and it's all because I was able to, just kind of gut check myself and say, hey, listen, I messed up and I failed, and here's, what happened. And now that's built on trust. And so it's kind of a special thing.
Yeah, I think that's a really good example. I think that can tie in well with, especially when an agent is on a call with a customer, the customer calls in, their trust has been broken. And when the agent provides that empathy, being that it was maybe the company's mistake, of being honest and owning and saying, hey, that was our mistake, and we're sorry about that. A lot of times that's what a customer wants to hear, or they want to have, brought back into that relationship of there was maybe a money issue, but it's also hearing that, hey, we're sorry, it was our mistake. This is what we're going to do to fix it. And
exactly.
Yep. It can build that relationship back up. Hmm.
That's really fun. You mentioned an agent. Like I think something that's been pretty, like even like an agent admitting like, hey, I don't know. Like I don't know like what you're asking me right now. If they admit that to the person on the phone, like they're taken back by that. Like they feel like they should know, but because they don't know and they're admitting that, it just kind of sets the bar and like, okay, what are you going to do now? And so they go in and go above and beyond to help that customer experience, overall customer experience. So, and
Yeah.
that means the world to the customer, right?
Yeah. It's almost, it's that I'm taking care of you of, hey, it's that age old advice too. If you don't know the answer, go find it. But the best
Right,
place to start with that is saying, I don't have an answer to that right now, but I'm going to go
right,
figure it out for you. I'm going to go solve
right.
that problem for you. You talked about employee experience a little bit earlier too. And
Hmm.
when an employee has the trust of the rest of their team or an agent has a trust of the rest of their team to be able to even say that of, I don't have the answer right now. And they can say that to a customer on the phone, but they have access to other people and experts on the product or experts on the
Hmm.
services in the back end of the business that they can reach out to and have those conversations with. Again, just aiding into a lot of what we're talking about here of relationships. That's
Right,
the employee side of the relationship. And like that is that ebb and flow of the circle. The employee is supported, they can go, they have the ability to reach out to other people in the company. It's coming back, they're solving the problem for the customer, that's aiding in their relationship, and it's just that big flywheel.
right.
I love it. I love it. Awesome. All right, we got a couple questions left, and one of the things I wanted to get your perspective on is how do you think the role of relationships in customer experience will evolve over the next 5 years?
Um, wow. Yeah, I think it really depends on, how, first of all, how deep your relationships are, right? With your customers, and AI is something that's growing, right? It's up and coming. I know last year's Enterprise Connect was specifically focused on AI, right? And so it's something that's being talked about continually. I think that and there's good things with it, like but as far as like overall like customer experience, like 5 years from now, if your customer experience isn't or your relationships aren't strong, then I think it's going to come back pretty negatively on like the whole human interaction and overall customer experience.
Mhm.
So just my thoughts.
Okay. I like that perspective. There's some people that may have a different perspective. Some people are
Yeah,
definitely along the lines of AI should be handling every single conversation. I think there's a couple
yeah,
examples out there in the news of how that has gone. And I think it's AI will definitely continue to get better. Absolutely. We know the investments that are in there. We know,
yeah,
Microsoft, the largest company in the world, is backing OpenAI, and they're obviously one of the leaders when it comes to AI. So I think we can assume that it's going to get better. But I like your perspective too, and it aids in the conversation that we're having within relationships of, there needs to be that human connection too. And we had John Zulte on the show a few times, and he shared a lot of knowledge when it comes to AI, but also when it comes to customer experience and rolling it out in phases. And his
hmm,
advice was you should start with just one thing at a time, make it great, and move on to the next thing. So that example was starting with the phone calls, making sure that the phone calls and the people that you're interacting with over voice, it's nailed in. Your agents are speaking with the right tone and empathy. They're being able to solve the
hmm,
problems. They have all the data that they need. And then move into something like omni-channel, move into email,
right,
get that right. Move into chat and SMS, get those right. And once you have all of those different levers being pulled in the right direction and you're satisfying the customer needs, all right, let's go back to the voice and let's start implementing some AI into that to help
right,
aid the agents. I think starting with the agents is a good place to start with AI. It's a little bit more behind the scenes, and then move into the customer experience for AI. And it's a tool. It's not a replacement for the agent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Just like you were saying, and it's all about the relationship with the customer. So
Right.
I love it. Awesome, Jeff. All right. So we have some rapid fire questions for you. I think I might have an idea of some of the answers that you might give, but I want to see what you say.
All right.
All right. So let's get into it. Customer trust or customer loyalty?
Customer loyalty.
Proactive support or reactive problem solving?
Proactive support.
Building rapport quickly or fostering a long-term relationship?
Fostering long-term relationship.
Empathy or being efficient?
Empathy.
Happy customers or a happy employee?
Happy customer.
Chatbots or live agents?
Live agents.
All right. Customer surveys or direct feedback?
Direct feedback.
First impressions or consistent follow-ups?
Consistent follow-ups.
Problem solving or relationship building?
Relationship building.
And one more here. Let's see. Team collaboration or individual accountability?
Team collaboration.
I love it. Jeff, he's all about the team. He's all about the customer, all about relationship. I knew this coming in because I know Jeff. He's an awesome guy, all about relationships. But Jeff, this was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for coming on the show and for sharing your perspective. It was a lot of fun.
Absolutely, Josh. Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right. Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you for listening to this episode of Always on CXCX. If you learned one thing from this episode, we'd appreciate if you'd subscribe and follow us on your favorite podcast platform. If you're using Microsoft Teams and are looking to integrate a contact center, consider trying Voca for free for 30 days. Voca is built on Microsoft Azure, meaning your customer interactions start, stay, and end with the same reliability and 5.9 uptime as Microsoft Teams. Just Google AudioCodes Voca or find the link in the show notes. Thank you again for tuning into this episode of Always on CXCX. We'll see you in the next one.